Day 11. It is raining outside. This is the second day on our way to South Georgia. By now we have done half of the journey and we should arrive South Georgia tomorrow morning. After breakfast, the first talk in the morning is Birds of South Georgia by Nowak.
Fortunately for these birds, so we're good on that front for an omen for 2022. It's called a prion because prion, it comes from a Greek word meaning saw, like something that you cut a piece of wood with. And pretty neat, if you look at a prion's beak up close, they have this unique structure right along the edge of the beak. This is called lamella, which those are actually very hard, bristly plates. Them at their nest, because there's not very many of them, they're in decline and they're in protected areas. Look at this. This is looking off the back of the fishing boat. Just a few little plastic streamers, and all of those birds are being kept out of that danger zone where the hooks are going underwater. So it can be a very effective setup. Related to the albatrosses and other petrels, but has a somewhat different lifestyle. It's actually not very good at. If you get a really close look at the foot of a Wilson storm petrel, the webbing in between their toes is bright yellow, like the color of your cork parkas. A few other seabirds around, many of which you may now recognize from Antarctica. We're still going to have these guys with back. So the flagship bird, as far as I'm concerned, of South Georgia is this one. This is called the South Georgia pipit. It is the world's southernmost songbird species. It's the only little, bird that you'll find on the island, particularly eating krill. They swim out to sea and dive underwater and go for, this is what an Antarctic krill looks like. Of course, they go around in big swarms, so you more often see them like this, although we don't tend to see swarms like this so much because they go down during the day. They have a vertical migration. So these big swarms are not necessarily right at the surface while we're out and about looking. But the krill, because of those ocean currents, tend to get washed up from the Antarctic Peninsula around South Georgia as well, which means it's also an important area for the krill fishery. This is what a krill trawler looks like. Pretty massive ship to be fishing for such tiny creatures. Just giving you a sense of the scale of how much krill is out there. And I thought I would just show you what that krill gets turned into. There's a few different products. You can find Antarctic krill oil. This is like a substitute for fish oil that you can take as a supplement. Or you can find bacon-flavored krill bites that you can give to your dog as a health supplement. Or you can feed krill formula to your fish at home. Not all of the penguins down here eat krill, especially at South Georgia, and so the macaroni penguins, fortunately we've seen some up close already because although there are many macaroni penguins at South Georgia, they tend to be in very exposed places, and so we don't always get up close looks at them, but we might, so we'll just see where we end up landing. These are not krill eaters so much as fish eaters. They'll swim far offshore and swim around and dive and catch fish. It's hard to take yourself seriously looking straight into the eyeballs of a macaroni penguin. But over the course of the winter, they stay in the colony, and then the following summer, in November and December, they're still there, but at full size, still being fed by their parents, and then they fledge later in the summer. So it takes about 14 months to go through that whole cycle, which means we'll see king penguins with eggs, but we'll also see last year's chicks side by side in the same colony. These chicks will start losing these downy feathers and looking very awkward in their adolescent phase for a week or so before they swim out to sea.
The next presentation is Seals of South Georgia by Mala.
Very grand seasonal movements and migrations out into open water. Surprisingly, sometimes for years, populations start looking like numbers like this. Look at this, Antarctic fur seal, 6 million plus. for population, global population, with an estimate for South Georgia. Do you remember what Sir David Attenborough said yesterday? South Georgia is home to upwards of 5 million Antarctic fur seals. Yes. We're going to focus in on Antarctic fur seal and southern elephant seal. It means the males are much, much larger than the females. So we're going to move on and just focus on those two here. Especially remember that zone, they like to have their own territory, but this one's quite far inland. Maybe hasn't been able to establish its own territory down on the beach. Bacteria produced from fur seal bites can develop into something quite nasty, and I expect we'll probably talk a bit more about this evening when we go into the briefing in a bit more in depth together. But I just want to put this in here because videos and to be around. Those seals are completely focused on the activity at hand. They're not paying attention to what's around you, so I want you to remember, mother just doesn't come back. She doesn't come back. That young one is left there on its own, which could actually end up being a 2-month period, up to 8 weeks. Water, underwater, submerged, hunting, traveling, even sleeping or resting, even at depths greater than 200 meters. Of course, this process is pretty energy intense because they're, again, not feeding during this time. Remember, they're thigmotactic. They like that contact, positively thigmotactic contact with others of the species, sharing warmth.
Penguin, seals, and whales eat krill. Then whales and seals eat penguins. We humans eat everything in the chart if we want to. In 1825, 1.2 million fur seals were killed by British and U.S. sealers in South Georgia. After lunch, the sea was a bit rough. I went to deck 6, hoping to visit the bridge, but the door was locked. This is the main entrance to the bridge, and the door label says red, meaning there's no visitors due to the COVID isolation policy. The afternoon lecture, The Antarctic Treaty, is very interesting. In the year 1900, 7 countries claimed different parts of South Pole as territories of their own.
But this one was monumental. So the scientists from these 12 countries got together and they decided to do a lot of science in Antarctica. They started to build bases. They started to cooperate. They just started to collaborate, share data, share resources.
In December 1959, the Antarctic Treaty was signed in Washington by 12 countries whose scientists had been active in and around Antarctica during the International Geophysical Year of 1957. It entered into force in 1961 and accepted by many nations. These are the 12 countries that signed the Antarctic Treaty. The Antarctic Treaty consists of 2,364 words contained in only 7 pages, set out elegantly in a preamble and 14 articles. 28 consultative countries can vote, and 50 countries are signatories. The treaty did not address mining issues. After 30 years of discussion, mining regulations changed quickly in 1989. The Environmental Protocol of 1991, they created mandatory regulations governing human activities and banned all mineral extractions in Antarctica. All waste is sorted and shipped off the continent by ships or airplane. But sadly, nothing has been done to control fisheries around Antarctica.
Over off the coast of Canada, and then in 1989, And then a third one, this one. This wasn't so big, and you probably don't even remember this one.
Before dinner is the recap and briefing. In Deck 3 reception area, there's a box for passengers to drop in their postcards. It may take 6 months to reach the destination.
Pectoral flipper. So at about 5 meters length, that's the length of the pectoral flipper of those humpback whales. And we can see that in that kind of side lunge, we can see that flipper. Is that length surprise anyone? All right, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. We might need a different angle here. What do we got here? Keep going. Don't clothesline anyone. Oh no, keep going. Oh man, alive. Keep going. Oh no, there we are. Hopefully they're stretched out up in the panorama too, but this distance or this length here, at about 13 meters, we come across, now we've got 15 meters here, right, on top of that length of the pectoral flipper. So from so average size, fully grown humpback, the largest in the Southern Ocean that was ever recorded through the whaling station came in at 19 meters long. A medium-sized whale in the whale world. So how big is big? Big. Pretty darn big. Thank you for that. That's all from me today. What a great day.
And this was it after a day. She was put on an antibiotics course. And this was it after 2 days. You can see just the bruising relative to the power of the bite. And she was okay, went through a course of antibiotics and didn't get horribly infected past that. And so this would be a full contact fur seal bite, deep and, immediate. This would be like we would immediately need to just turn and burn to the closest hospital of significance.
I will always use the bite system without changing.
I will stand my ground.
I will stand my ground.
Resist the urge to run.
And resist the urge to run.
And show confidence in my body language. I will consider my tools and use them wisely, but not as a weapon.
I will consider my tools and use them wisely, but not as a weapon.
Thank you guys very much for that. Yes. Get that stuff in. We can have some amazing experiences and not.
Will you take care of my bag too? I want to look at this. An amazing bed, man. Wow. Oh, that's beautiful. Amazing. Oh, okay. We can continue. Okay.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go. I don't think we should go in there.
We should go in another direction. Keep watching.
These look a lot more friendly over here, but only they said to you. Hey, slow down.
Wait, come on. If we get together, we can watch out our backs too.
I didn't have a buddy. I need one.
Don't worry. We are here to save you.
Oh, thank you.
Watch out.
All right. Yeah, this is pretty impressive here.
So many of them, Jesus.
I feel better in a buddy system now. This is better, guys.
You need to make yourself bigger too.
Okay.
Yeah. Show yourself. Show your power.
Oh, they're eating my lunch. Hey. Listen up. Chill out.
Go away.
Chill out there. Okay. I can handle this. Just keep it together.
The theme of tonight's dinner is to remember Shackleton's last meal prior to his ship, the Endurance, being marooned on ice in 1915. I had the mock turtle soup, and the main course I chose roast pork and rabbit stew. My wife likes fish, so she chose sea bream. We have whiskey in the name of Shackleton.